Hi, I'm Nicolas Surbonsai, and this is my webinar, Theory of Economic Exclusion. Theory of Economic Exclusion by Nicolas Suribonsai, May 10, 2022. This knowledge is personal according to my point of view, and it was already written on my following books: El Joven, Tu respuesta puede cambiar el mundo, 2015; El Joven viviendo en Cratonia, 2015; La noche de los reinos, la desaparición, 2015; Mr. Education por Jamiro, 2017. The system increases, expects, or decreases. Theory of economic exclusion: economic growth, static economy, economic decline. Economic growth: both dynamic progress in a city and remaining static are negative options, as both harm the poor people. The world population grows every year, and if a city decides to urbanize and develop buildings, roads, or expanding administrative and commercial centers, how many of those people would be included in the system and how many of them would be displaced or separated in order to fulfill the development purpose? If we take China as an example, it shows that they have a very strong economy. They build buildings, companies, creating more streets, among others. Nevertheless, you are able to see homeless people around its most developed cities. There is almost no room for more housing. Therefore, the homeless build tunnels under the ground to live. Others emigrate to other countries. In Europe, in countries such as the United Kingdom, Italy, France, and others, there is a crisis of xenophobia against immigrants, unrelated to the lack of jobs. In the United States, there are around 15 million poor people of a population of over 300 million inhabitants. The issue is that sometimes poor people are not resigned to living far from the city, and as a consequence, they prefer to live in poverty but in the suburbs near the city and then go to work in central places offering the products and services because in there the market is more profitable. The question is there enough space in the urban area in places far from the city for these people to live? Are the conditions conducive for these people to be able to develop economically in those places? Economic inequality exists. The most powerful countries are powerful because they concentrate a large amount of money, which produces significant economic inequality at the global level. As explained before, urban development also excludes. When roads are created, more houses, more factories, more buildings, etc., the wickets are pushed out to the suburbs. The world population is increasing considerably every year, so there is no more space or no more living spaces are created. And those who were already living in the suburbs move farther away from the city centers until they disappear. When there is inflation, it also excludes people. Although the rise in prices should be in tune with the wages of the workers, what happens to the indigent, those excluded from the system? How many more coins do they have to collect to be able to buy their food? Static economy. In the static economy, in the static moments of the economy, it also excludes people in the view of the fact that the poor continue to be poor and some indigents are dying. A clear example of a static state was the first phase of the quarantine due to the pandemic, and as a consequence, the countries had to increase their debts for social security, to buy medicine, infrastructure, and so forth. According to an investigation of the Asian Development Bank and the International Monetary Fund, the fiscal deficit due to COVID-19 was expected to increase more in developed economies due to the amount of fiscal stimulus. But if prices drop down, the economic circuit says that companies do not have enough money to pay wages. That extra money injected into the market is imaginary. Due to the drop in prices, wages do not increase and therefore tend to an economy of delay or stagnation. And what happens to the poor and indigents? They agonize, they die, they do not advance, despite the fact that if the system has enough money to save the poor and destitute in the face of a stagnant economy, then it tends to preserve the status quo, neither forward nor backward. Then it would be perfect. But this is only a theory, since the economy is linked to the international market, and any change could affect the local economy. In addition, people tend to grow, have ambitions, dreams, etc. They are human beings and seek to increase their income. This is another factor that would modify the status quo that deflation is intended to achieve. That chart that you see now shows an irregular pyramid of a growing country where many poor people were rescued and are now part of the middle class. Economic decline. When there is a decrease in the economy, it excludes people. For the reason that there are more layoffs and resignations in companies, distrust between sectors, the poor have hard time getting food, among others. In this chart, we see the comparison between managing a country or a company. Although both are represented in a pyramid way, a company at a micro level and a country at a macro level, therefore, a country carries a much greater responsibility. The company can become dictatorial, other times it is democratic, and another important difference is that when a person is fired, that ex-employee can have monetary compensation or have the opportunity to work in another company or to get his/her own income or move to another country to see other income horizons or to stay with some relatives in the middle class. At the country level, when a person is kicked out, he or she is not simply an unemployed person with possibilities of survival. If that unemployed person does not have possibilities or does not find a way out for personal reasons or reasons beyond his/her control, he/she could disappear or act contrary to the laws imposed. In a country, when a person is kicked out, that is referring to the poor and indigent, they are closer to death. Takeaways. My 4 ebooks available on Amazon Books. The system increases, expects, or decreases. Economic growth, a static economy, and economic decline have negative consequences. If the economy grows, poor suffer. If the economy decreases, poor suffer. If the economy gets stuck, poor suffer. And here are my books. El joven viviendo en Cratonia, Mr. Education por Ramiro. El joven, tu respuesta puede cambiar el mundo. La noche de los reinos, la desaparición. Thank you.